All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Global Reality. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. It is Monday, December the 5th, 2016. Thank you very much for being here with us for another edition of the broadcast. It is Monday. Hope you had a nice weekend. Hope everybody out there is staying warm. It's starting to get cold, and there's starting to be talk of major Arctic wind and weather and craziness coming down. So everybody out there, stay warm, keep your animals warm, everything. I hadn't talked about this in a long time, but it made me think of, I saw another article the other day, made me think of something I talked about many, many years ago here on the show. And that was, the whole thing with, well, back in the, 30, 40 years ago, there was all this talk of a coming ice age and the returning ice age. Because everything is cyclical, everything happens in cycles, and there were, many scientific papers, books, all kinds of stuff documenting and talking about how around the year 2010, and somewhere in that decade, we would start to see the return of the ice age. And then on into the 80s, you started to hear less and less about that. And then there started to become, at first it was the ozone layer. Remember that? That was like the pre-global warming thing was the ozone layer, right? Chlorofluorocarbons and hairspray cans and Freon cans are putting fucking holes in the atmosphere, and we're all going to die if we don't, charge out the wazoo for all this stuff, environmental regulations, blah, 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 blah. And then it went to global warming, and then climate, and then they just changed to, the generic, very bland and generic climate change, which could, mean a whole raft of various different things. If you want to get right down to it, the climate's always changing. You have areas where you have consistent temperatures, year round or whatever. But I mean, look around you. Look in places look in the deserts. Places like Egypt. Where this stuff like this Libyan desert glass is found. That that I actually sell specimens of and stuff and jewelry of. And we have some in one of my Let There Be Rocks thing that I do, and it's fascinating. The Libyan desert glass is just so fascinating and amazing because it's a total anomaly, and there's lots of documentaries to go out there and watch it. I mean, this stuff is totally rare. We've got a piece, it's like that big. It's like a museum specimen. I mean, really, it's, you see a lot of little small ones. This is a big, huge chunk. I mean, it's hours and hours and hours one way out to this one area in the middle of the desert to get to the place where you can harvest this stuff. And if you get stuck out there, it's so far out there, they can't even send like rescue squads and teams out to come and get you. Because literally helicopters and whatever else, choppers, they run out of gas. They get enough gas to get there, but have enough gas to get back. It's wet in the middle of the desert. But all the scientific studies and stuff, it's never been found anywhere else. It's this yellow glass. It's because something heated the sand in that area to such a degree that it vitrified this glass and turned it into these yellow shards called Libyan desert glass. And the Egyptians revered this stuff and made insanely intricate things like I think it's the headdress of Tutankhamun. And in the center of it, it's got a scarab beetle about that big in the middle, in the center chest plate of this thing that's carved out of a solid piece of this Libyan desert glass. And if you see this thing, you can tell it was laser etched. And the reason that you can tell it is beyond any shadow of a doubt, it's laser etched. The grooves and what the workings in it, you couldn't. I have this material, like I'm familiar with it. I have pieces of it. You can't manipulate that material, glass like that, in the way they did to. You can carve stuff out of it. You can put holes in it, make jewelry out of it, and stuff like that. But this stuff is really a mystery because there's so much contention over how it formed. because the predominant scientific theory is that it was some sort of impact from a meteorite, an asteroid, or something like that. But the reason why that doesn't hold water, and the reason why there's so much contention about it, is because there's never been an impact crater found. And they've gone out there with ground penetrating radar. They've gone out there with everything you can imagine, and yet they've never been able to find an impact crater. So if it was a meteorite, you would expect to see that. But what they did find is stuff like iridium, like the big piece that we have for sale. You'll see all these kind of like little brown flecks, and you see these little stuff inside. It kind of looks like sand. That's iridium. That's this rare earth metal that they use for satellites and the rest of it. I talked about how they were after a lot of that for, different space technologies and whatnot that they want to use for the creation of space weapons and stuff. I think we'll probably end up talking more about that later on in the show. But they've never found an impact crater, so there's no one really knows, and nothing like this has ever been found. There's lots of deserts all over the world. If this was a meteorite or an impact crater, something else of this nature would have been found, and nothing like this has ever been found anywhere else. I always thought it was some kind of landing spot for a craft or something, where a craft landed, jet and engines on the bottom of some giant massive mothership or something, landed and vitrified the glass and then took off again. That's why there's no impact crater there. That was always my theory on it. But that area was also once covered in water and oceans. And when you go out west, a lot of the places we know out west, like Nevada, Utah, Arizona, these places used to be covered on, were underwater and whatnot. So, this whole thing with climate change, well, the climate is always changed. This thing where they've hijacked naturally occurring things and tried to make them into, political devices. It's really sick and twisted. But the fact of the matter is, it used to be I think at some point they decided, they flipped the script on the whole. I think that's why they changed it from global warming, because remember, why did it go from global warming, which means overall global getting hotter, right? And they were pushing that. They still are pushing it. But they changed the terminology, and that's huge, because that's all part of this psychic manipulation and this mind war and the rest that I've described and talked about in shows and in my films and whatnot. It's all still a part of that, the psychological operation. But notice how, in the official terminology, they've backed off from that. It's very telling. Because they're not just saying, well, this is global warming, it's caused by man and blah, 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 this, that. We need global carbon tax and further enslavement of the people in order to be able to save the environment. Now they're backing off it. Now they're trying to, any kind of climate change now. Oh, well, do you guys remember those? Not even kidding you. There was articles coming out a few years ago saying, well, that's part of global warming. Yeah, that's part of it. When you have global warming and it starts getting hot, it's just, you just don't understand it because you're not a scientist. But that's normal for it to get really super cold and you think we're going to have an ice age. That's part of global warming getting hot. Really? So getting super duper cold is really all about super, super duper heat. I don't think you can provide another example of that anywhere in nature. I'm going to go ahead and say that's bullshit, which of course it is. But even remember that show there's a show back in the 70s, In Search Of, TV show, there's with Leonard Nimoy. It's on YouTube. Many of you have probably seen this. There's an episode of that. I think I remember seeing this when I was a kid too. But I remember seeing it in like a science book at school when I was maybe second or third grade, early 80s. I remember seeing in science books talking about, how we'd have another ice age in another 20 or 30 years, 40 years. And Yeah, and there's an episode of that In Search of a Leonard Nimoy where they're talking about the coming ice age and whatnot. It's on YouTube. You can find it. And yet, it seems that there was a decision made at some point to cover this up. I think it's very real. I think we really are starting to see this, and I think that that's been why they gradually started switching over the whole global warming thing and changing. Whenever you start seeing them change the terminology like that, that's when you know they're up to something. Remember, after Hurricane Katrina, they were like, "Oh, you can't call them." They're calling refugees, Katrina refugees, and you can't call them. We're not calling them refugees anymore. We're calling them evacuees. They shied away from the refugee thing because it was too much of an indicator. I mean, look, that thing that I watched that thing as it happened. That was a harpicane. That thing was totally controlled. It was a weather manipulated pattern. You saw it literally. It went up the East Coast, paused, stopped, literally stopped over the ocean, and came back around the Horn of Florida and back up the Gulf Coast and slammed into New Orleans. I mean, it was absolutely steered. And I believe that's why, because it was unprecedented that they did that. A lot of people forget that about that situation and with Katrina and whatnot. But how in the first week or so, everybody was calling Katrina refugees. And there was a massive campaign that went on, a PC campaign to change that. And even the media everybody got behind it, and citizens everybody fell right behind it, to where there was a real big thing on not calling them refugees. Well, refugees are people who are generally fleeing from an attack or a war or something. And that's what that was. And the powers that be weren't comfortable with that. So we call them evacuees. Oh, they were evacuated. Well, I mean, either way. But so anyway, that's another one of those sly tricks they always like to do. I don't know why I decided to just rail out of the gates with that tonight. I guess because I was talking about it being cold and all the rest of it. Anyway, we are here. We're with you. We got some various topics, other various things to get into here with you on the show. Tonight, theglobalreality.com is my website. That's theglobalreality.com. If you ever can't remember what my website name is, theglobalreality.com, all you have to do is go to Google, type in Josh Reeves, and the first link that comes up, the first website that comes up is mine. You go right there, and that's where you find all our stuff. I want to thank everybody who contributed to our November 2016 operating cost budget and helped us reach 100% of our operating cost goal, which enabled us to be able to get the operating costs and everything for the month covered 100% with no straggles and everything else. Thank you so much to everybody out there for your continued support. But I noticed a lot of you have not contacted me. A lot of you that contributed. We didn't have we had the big Herkimer Diamond giveaway. We didn't have a winner. Crazy. I've never seen it work out like that. Usually we have a bunch of people who donate small amounts, and then one person or whatever that'll donate a big amount. We didn't have that this time. We had a couple of small amounts, and then almost universally across the board, everybody did the $100 deal, which was a fantastic deal. You get the lifetime membership and 4 downloads from the shop. But not everybody that contributed has contacted me. And the thing about it is, when you go through the Go Get Funding banner thing there, it doesn't give me your email address. It doesn't send that information to me. If you buy like a download or something from me, or a DVD or something, it'll automatically, PayPal will send me your email address and the information and stuff, letting me know that you made a purchase. But through the Go Get Funding, through the banner thing for the campaigns for the operating costs, it doesn't give me that information. So if some of you contributed and were wondering, well, I didn't get my prize back or whatever, maybe you didn't hear this on the other show. I said it a couple times on the other shows, but let me say it again. You got to email me, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. If you're a $100 contributor to the operating costs, you got a prize pack coming. So you get a lifetime membership. And if you don't want it, that's fine. I mean, some people don't. some people don't want the prize back. They're just like, whatever, I'll donate, and that's it. Hey, it's whatever's clever, whatever makes you happy. But anyway, if you haven't gotten that and you'd like to be set up with that and you contributed to the operating cost budget for November, email me and I'll get you set up, and also let me know what 4 downloads you'd like from the download shop as well, which you can find in the middle of the page. I'm going to make that clear again. Still got people who are having problems finding the download shop. If you want to download any of my films, all of them are in there. All the films I put out for the last 9 years, 6 full-length documentary films, and there's some mini films in there, and also the audiobooks. There's some audiobooks and stuff for sale in the download shop. Go to my website, theglobalreality.com. In the middle of the page, it says, purchase Josh Reeves' latest documentaries here. They're all inside there. So, again, there's just got so many people who are not finding it, and people who've gone through and bought the pre-order for the download and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I've put out 6 full-length documentary films since 2007. They're all available in the download shop. And my newest one is The Spellcasters, Volume 1, which has turned out to be way more prophetic of a movie than I ever could have predicted. It is wild. And you can also, there at my website, theglobalreality.com, you can find the subscribe button. You hit subscribe and you get yourself a membership, and you can stay current with all the shows as soon as they are posted. High quality HDR members archives, and that helps you stay current with all the shows and whatnot that we're doing here. So again, thanks to everybody who contributed and helped us reach our goal, and we are off to the races here for another month. For those of you who did not contribute, we still need your help. We have 11 days left to go on our Spellcasters Volume 2 fundraiser. We are getting very close to reaching our goal. If we got some more people that come in and contribute, we will reach our goal and we'll be able to get this film going. I wanted to have this thing funded a month and a half ago, and it just didn't happen. So I've just kept pushing it, and hopefully, and we've been pushing and getting farther, but it's, the longer it takes for us to get what we need to get the film out, to make the film, to create the film, because none of it hasn't been made yet because we haven't had our budget put together. But once we get the budget done, it'll take 2 or 3 months to finish it. So I'm shooting right now at this point for March. If we get this thing funded in the next 11 days, shooting for March to have it done. And then I'm going to be shifting and changing around my film release schedule. It's the first time I'm announcing this, so I want to tell you about this. I've made an executive decision recently, and I'm going to be changing. I've got so many film projects in the works and on the back burner, and I've got more material and ideas for films than I probably will ever have time on this earth to complete. That's the truth. I got a lot. But with limited finances, limited budgets, it's very, very difficult to be able to, get every one of them done. As I've talked about, so much of this stuff I've seen coming for so many years, and I predicted it all was coming, but it still doesn't mean I'm not shocked by it. I mean, it's unbelievable. And it's just a critical time right now. I did a show a month or two ago. I did an interview with Nick Spiro. And on that show, I think we started talking about the Secret Right films that I did, 2009, 2011. And I mentioned there, when I said it was an exclusive, because I didn't talk about it or even said it on the show or mentioned it to anybody up to that point, that I had on the back burner as kind of a long-range project, plans for even though it wouldn't be called Part 3, it's not going to be called Part 3, plans for a third Secret Right film which I've kind of tentatively entitled the Ultimate Edition. But those, Secret Rite Volume 1, I made in 2009. That was my second film I ever made. And the technology, the computers, and the software of it, was not as good back then. I know it doesn't seem like that was very long ago, 7 years or something. But in terms of technology and how much stuff has exploded and gotten better since then, it was the Stone Ages compared to what we have now, really. And I'm not, I'm self-taught at everything I do. I can play 7 instruments. I can sing. I can play guitar, bass, drums, keyboards. Program. I can produce. I can arrange. I can edit. I can do video editing. I'm proficient in multiple video editing and audio recording softwares. I can use analog consoles and digital stuff just as easily as one as the other. Cameras, SLRs. I know everything about frame rate settings and, ISO settings, all that stuff, camera settings. I'm a pro at all of it. But I'm 100% self-taught in everything that I've done. And so, those films, Secret Rite Volume 1 and Volume 2, were the perfect films for the time period in which they were made. But now so much has happened, and we've kind of built on so much here with these Spellcasters films that I think it's time to push some of the other stuff, Lost Secrets 3 and some of the other projects that I had planned, on the back burner. And after Spellcasters 2 is out shooting for March, then my plan is going to be after that to work on getting the Secret Rite Ultimate Edition out by this time next year. So December 2017. Because I've grown so much, my filmmaking skills and the software, everything's gotten better. The information contained in those films, the Secret Rite Volume 1 and Volume 2, is important information, but I just didn't get it right, man. I didn't get it right with those films because it was kind of asking the impossible for me to get it right because I was just fresh to the information. I've had a lot more years to absorb and research this information. I'll have a lot more handle on it now than I did then. My presentation skills for my films and everything is so much better, and everything. So it's not going to be a rehash of those films in any way. I'm not going to just take the same information. There probably will be, stuff mentioned that's mentioned in those will be mentioned in those, but I'm not just going to cut stuff out of the other ones and paste them all together. It's going to be a completely brand new film that's going to explore the Council for National Policy, all of this stuff, the phony so-called truthers, the whole end of it. And now with the Trump stuff and what's happening here, I really think it's time to have just a resource. That's what that film will be. That'll be the resource, instead of having to break it down for everybody. That'll be really, when you want to show somebody why all this stuff is a fraud and why these clowns are what they are and who they're connected to and why they need to be aware of it. I want it to be, you just hand them that movie. So that's going to be our big goal for next year. This year is just to, the rest of this year for 2016, our goal is right now is to just, get the Spellcasters Volume 2 funded. Now, even though the Spellcasters Volume 2 is going to be about, the subtitle of it is Music, Murder, and Music, Murder, and Culture Control. And we are going to be, as I mentioned, talking about a lot of these CIA-connected deaths of famous musicians and whatnot. But that's only going to be one part of it. It's going to be one end of it. Well, there will be, I'm not going to just ignore Volume 1. It'll be very much an extension of Volume 1. And we'll definitely going to be updating a lot of the stuff. Because you got to understand, I put that film out in July, towards the end of July. So, I mean, a lot of the stuff that was in that film is now, that's pre the Trump election. So, of course, with Spellcasters Volume 2, we'll be talking more about the, Alex Jones, Trump stuff and the connections to Scientology and the updates there with some of the Scientology, more recent Scientology stuff that's come out, the Leah Remini stuff, all the rest of that. So, Volume 2 of the Spellcasters may end up being 2 discs. It may end up being 2 discs on DVD. I'm not for sure yet. It may end up being a 4-hour. If it ends up being a 4-hour movie, I'm going to have to put it on 2 discs. So I don't know how long it's going to be yet. I never know until right when the movie's pretty much done. But I have a feeling it's going to be pretty dense. Other updates I wanted to let you know about, the updates status on the DVDs and Blu-rays for the Spellcasters. We are still waiting on artwork to be finished for this thing. This has been the thing I've having to wait the longest on. I've had 2 or 3 people have a crack at it and give a shot at it. Nobody seems to be able to get it right or do it. And but I've got the guy who did Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 1 artwork, which was fantastic. And he's working on it, taking a crack at it now. So hopefully he'll get it done soon. And as soon as he does, those will be sent off to be manufactured, and then we'll be mailing them out after that. But it's gonna be great. If it comes out as I've conceived it, it's gonna be fantastic and well worth the wait. The packaging is gonna be great, especially for the DVDs. Unfortunately, with Blu-rays, there aren't options to do cool packaging stuff with Blu-rays. It's not even available at any price. All they give you basically is like you can get like a 2-panel insert, and that's it. You can't even do an inside stuff. It's just like nothing on the inside. So Blu-rays, it's kind of a trade-off. With Blu-ray, you're getting a much higher resolution picture and sound, but you're not getting much in the way of packaging. With DVDs, the opposite of that. DVD is not going to be as high quality. Although if you have a 4K TV, and you have a 4K upsampling, you don't need to get the fucking HD or Super HD Blu-ray, whatever they're selling now. It's like fucking thousands, whatever it is, the newest one. You don't even need that. The picture quality is negligible compared to the picture quality of you can get a 4K TV for like $400 right now, and get a Blu-ray player that has 4K upsampling, and you won't really notice a big difference on Blu-rays. Surprisingly, you would think, well, if I got a 4K TV and I get the 4K upsampling Blu-ray player, the quality jump is going to be mega, right? It really isn't. But where it is mega at is on, believe it or not, it's on standard DVDs. You have a 4K TV and a 4K upsampling Blu-ray player, and you put a regular DVD in it, it's astounding. It really makes it look almost HD. It's really astounding how well and how good it looks. So, one of the I can't remember what my point was bringing that up. With the films. Anyway, with the DVDs and the Blu-rays, again, the quality with the DVD is going to be, it can be almost as good as the Blu-ray if you've got the upsampling stuff there. But anyway, the artwork and the packaging for the Spellcasters, I have this conception and this idea. I don't want to give it away yet. It's going to really look cool when it comes together. And again, hopefully all I'm waiting for now is the artwork. As soon as he emails me the artwork and I approve it and okay it and send him the templates, we'll be off to the races, and they'll be manufactured, and we'll start sending those out. So you can still pre-order the Blu-ray and the DVD if you haven't gotten one of those pre-order yet. You can still got time to pre-order them. It's going to be first come, first serve, so be patient. The farther down the line that you order, it's going to take longer to get. So we will start mailing those out very, very soon. What else did I have I wanted to mention? What else? Let's see. really have any. Let's see. Let's see what kind of news we've got here. You know, I've talked about many times with some of these shill truthers and whatnot. One of the things I've talked about many times, and it is very true, it definitely holds weight, that one of the main things that you can always tell about these guys, and sometimes I have to put a caveat on this because sometimes it's true, sometimes it isn't, but oftentimes the case is, oftentimes what these people don't, it's not what they do talk about. People say, well, he talks about this, and he's for the Constitution, and he's for sound money, and this. Yeah, but he's not talking about these other things that should be mentioned. It's always a red flag. But I have to tell you, with me, sometimes that's not the case, and oftentimes there are things that you will not hear me talk about, and you'll be suspicious. You'll be like, why is he flat not ignoring that? Why is he flat ignoring this? Why is he not talking about this? It was that way with the flat Earth stuff for a long time. I didn't talk about it, bring it up because for the exact reasons of because exactly what did happen, what I suspected was going to happen, happened with as far as like the whole flat Earth stuff. I never talked about mentioning it because I said the truth, which is the truth is it doesn't make fuck all to me, whether it's round, flat, square, triangle, or otherwise. Does not change the reality on the ground that you and I face every single day we walk out that front door. Okay? It does not. It doesn't. And we already know we've been lied to on a massive scale. I don't have a dog in the race. I never did. But I said, as soon as I say that, and as soon as I go on, and I knew as soon as I said that automatically, because this is what kind of this is how you can tell when something's an operation. Because normally, if there's an argument, one side versus this side, and you have somebody that says, I don't have a dog in the race, I don't really care either way, I don't give a fuck if it's round, flat, this, or, whatever. Okay, that's whatever. But I knew as soon as I said that, because that's how these people are. Anytime somebody's pushing an agenda, as soon as you're not on board with their agenda, they start attacking. And that's how you could tell. I never went around trolling, Alex Jones listeners or idiots or, people like that. I never went around trolling people saying, all you boys are a bunch of idiots and morons. If you don't believe me, what I have to say, if you don't believe what Josh Reeves says about this, and you're one of them. I never did that kind of thing. Never went around trolling, going in places where people aren't on board with me and but see, that's what they do. And I knew that would happen. I said, no, it doesn't matter. Then all of a sudden they started calling me a globe believer. Then all of a sudden, because my show is called The Global Reality, automatically that puts me in the other camp. And that's exactly why I never brought it up and talked about it. So sometimes there are subjects and things that I flat ignore because I don't want to be brought into the psyop of it all. And I don't want to, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to, accidentally, or I don't want to by proxy, rather, sometimes expose my audience. I don't want to be an unwilling participant in some psyop by covering it and giving it light, but eventually things get to the point where I have to address them and talk about them. And there's been two recently that I've gotten emails and I've gotten stuff about people saying, how come you hadn't talked about this? Haven't you brought this up? And I don't even respond back to them. I don't even give them a reason why I haven't talked about it. That's when you know. So keep that in mind for future reference. A lot of you have been listening to me for a long time know this. Because y'all sent me emails about it before. My listeners love this. It'll be like something stewing, for 2 weeks, and I won't say a peep about it, not a peep. And I'll say, hey, what about this? What is this? How come you're not talking about this? Hey, you bring this up. I won't respond. It's like, honestly, do you think I didn't hear about that? I mean, I spend 12 hours a day ferreting out news stories and going through all this crap, and have for years, decades. So it's not my first rodeo. I'm not new to this. I'm not a new jack. The two big ones recently that people have asked me, well, how come you didn't talk about this? The mass UFO sighting in Turkey, I think it was Turkey, and the Pizzagate thing. Those two things. Have you heard me mention nary a peep about either one of those things? No, you have not. Why have you not heard? Well, there's a fucking good reason why, isn't there? Now, it's not hard for you to figure that out now with the Turkey UFO thing. That turned out to be an absolute, complete, utter fucking hoax. But people bought it hook, line, and sinker. And, of course, now this whole Pizzagate thing. And now look what happened yesterday. Some conspiracy theorist guy or somebody who goes into the pizzeria and shoots the place up. And I talked about this happening back in 2008. I was talking about this happening and warning people that this was going to happen. That's why, folks, if you're out there, if you're somebody like me, and I want to make this crystal clear, even though I've said it in past shows, and, I don't know how deep the spooks have listened to my shows. I don't know how far back they go in the archives. But I want to say it one more time to make it crystal clear. Because I get lumped into this truther and conspiracy theorist category because a lot of this stuff bleeds over, and a lot of this a lot of this stuff is true. But this is how they are going to try and negate and sort of take back all of the damage that has been done to expose the world power system since the advent and since the availability to many people of the internet. This is what they have been trying to do, and that is to, with one fell swoop, discredit and write off anyone who is speaking truth as being a part of this whatever for a long time it was domestic terrorists, then white domestic terrorists, and then now they moved it to alt-right conspiracy. I'm not any of those things. I'm not with the alt-right. I'm not with the Alex Jones crew. I never have been. I'm a single individual person who sees through the lies and the manipulation that has been that we've all been subjected to, that we've been subjected to for generations, and generationally exposed to this stuff, to where we don't even know, we're just brought up in the program. That's how thick and how long it's been going on. We're just brought up in it. This is how they're going to try and wipe out and discredit people who are actually telling the truth and create this cognitive dissonance where people don't know what's true and what isn't. And my work in exposing these guys and exposing all the sides of this, I always knew it was important work, but it's never been more important than it is now. Never has been more important than it is now. I mean, they're just now getting to stuff I taught that, you got to remember, the Spellcasters came out in July, but a lot of that stuff was written 6 months before that. All that stuff I had in there about Russia Today and linking the KGB safe houses that L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology and CIA were using to funnel money or funnel information to the KGB. All that information in there, and then combining that with Russia Today being a propaganda arm of the KGB, Trump appearing on there, Jones appearing on there. I mean, that stuff was all written in there, and now it's just now they're starting to talk about it because the left wing is latching on to this stuff and trying to use it as a thing against Trump, and then the right wing just sees it as attacks from the left side. But nobody's really seeing the clear picture that everybody's being gamed. You got to quit putting yourself on a side of this, folks. It's exactly where they want you. The truth should be the only side that you're on. Period. The flood of fake news this election season got support from a sophisticated Russian propaganda campaign that created and spread misleading articles online. Russia's increasingly sophisticated propaganda machinery, including thousands of botnets, teams of paid human trolls, and networks of websites and social media accounts, echoed and amplified across right-wing sites of the internet, portrayed Hillary Clinton as a criminal hiding potentially fatal health problems and preparing to hand control of the nation to a shadowy cabal of global financiers. Again, this is how they create the cognitive dissonance and the separation and this thing where people start to discredit and discount things that are actually true by associating it with fucking goofballs and white supremacists and the rest of it. I called this, folks, as far back as 2008. No kidding. I was on air talking about it as far back as then. It's guilt by association. They want to associate anybody because that's how they keep their status quo and their power in place. By associating things like the fact that there are shadowy cabals of global financiers. Things like that. But again, associating that with right-wing whacknuts and associating that one to one particular party is all a part of this game. And it's all a part of this massive psychological warfare campaign that's been being conducted by the CIA and by covert military operators, the Michael Aquinos and the Stubblebines of the world. And you see these guys like Jones and the rest of them, and they're right there in it, man. If you haven't seen the Spellcasters, you need to see this so you can see me break this down for you even more than I am here. Everybody's getting gamed. Everybody. And if people don't figure it out, it's just, I knew as soon as I heard about this Pizzagate thing, I knew it was horseshit. It was cooked up on fucking 4chan. And again, that's not to say, see, same thing there. Same thing here. Yes, that particular story, absolute horseshit, absolute bullshit. It was concocted in order to get a response. It's part of this operation and this psychological warfare. But that doesn't mean that there aren't high-level people in the government who are actually fucking pedophiles and child molesters and do engage in child trafficking and the rest of it. See the double-edged effect of that? Because then it gets people on the other side of it to think things like that are absolutely not true when they are. Yes, that's true. But that particular case, this is the it's the classic cry wolf thing that Jones has been the master of for years. I remember when the bird flu, swine flu thing broke out, like 2009. Jones literally went on him and Steve Quayle were on air saying, folks, if you don't get out of America by tomorrow, the airports are going to be shut down. You're not going to be able to get out of America. They're trapped us here. They're going to kill us all. By tomorrow at 3 o'clock, we'll all be dead. And in FEMA camps. Of course, it came and went. Nothing ever fucking happened. Was Jones ran out on a fucking rail like he should have been? No. Same thing he did with fucking, remember Y2K? Austin stores are running out of water. Nuclear power plants are shut down, folks. None of it was fucking true. It was the little boy that cried wolf yet again. And that's what they do. Why? And why do they do that? Because then when there is an actual threat, people just go, probably more bullshit, not even going to worry about it. So the next time that some high-level government person, maybe say somebody who's not John Podesta, maybe say somebody that's on the right wing, can we say what was it called? Franklin cover-up, the Franklin scandal. Remember, that was all right-wingers. They were here in Dallas doing that shit, too. They had like the 83 Republican convention here in Dallas. And out at South Fork, near South Fork Ranch, which I used to live not far from, they were doing like Bohemian Grove style rituals out there, and they had, we had the underage boy harem out there and stuff. That's what it does. So the next time somebody accuses some high level government person to be involved in this kind of thing, oh well, yeah, it's probably just bullshit, just like those alt-righters were saying about Podesta, blah blah blah. Cognitive dissonance, it creates it, and it associates this true thing with a dubious source. That is mind control, folks. That is psychological warfare at its very core and its very definition. That's what it is. Complaints grow over whites turning, you know what, there aren't just whites there, and this is, I'm sorry, that's racist just from the outset. Let's change that. It ain't just whites, it's everybody there. Complaints grow over people turning the Dakota Access Pipeline protest into a hippie festival. Well, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? You got a bunch of fucking celebrities showing up. You got Neil Young. You got fucking Neil Young coming down and playing a free show. And you think it ain't going to turn into a hippie fest? Neil Young shows up and plays, and you think it ain't going to be a hippie fest? What do you think was going to happen? But this is hand in hand with that. This is the same kind of thing. They've been trying to do this with protesters and stuff for years and years. They love stuff like this to happen. Because then it gives them more weight of why they're right. Then they just portray all protesters as idiots and morons and all the rest of it. But, word came out. Everybody got all happy. They gave them until today. They were giving them until today at 3 p.m. to be out of there. And then yesterday, I guess they announced, oh, the pipeline's been shut down. Come on. Y'all don't really believe that. There are people really believing that. Is it that it's just over with? Give me a break. They're doing that to cover their ass so nobody gets fucking sued when motherfuckers start dying out there when it hits about negative 50 towards the end of this week. That Arctic blast air, man, is coming down. They're saying it's going to be like, in the teens here in my neck of the woods like this week. That's fucking cold. So notice the timing of this. All that's going to happen is they're going to wait till winter's over. Trump's going to get sworn in. This motherfucker's going to be right back on. And they'll be out there. He'll be out there fucking dancing. Amen. Yeah, it's not as good as Bonnaroo was last week, man, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's not as good as Birdie Man was last year, man, but it was dope. U.S. military prepares for the next frontier, space war. Yep, another subject I've been talking about for years and years and years. Going back to the statements former Nazi Wernher von Braun made in his final days, which has been often misquoted by conspiracy theorists and truthers to fit their own agenda and whatnot. I misquoted it for many years too, till I actually, heard what he actually said. Because a lot of people said, "Oh, Wernher von Braun said they're going to fake an alien invasion." No, that's not actually what he said. It's actually kind of different with what he said. Kind of along those same lines. But he actually said what they were going to do is they were going to tell us that non-hostile aliens who are not a threat to us, who are trying to help humans get off things like their dependency on, oil and all this other stuff, who were going to help us, but would be seen as seen as a threat to the powers that be. Powers that be were going to tell us these non-hostile aliens are a threat, get us to band together across the world and get us to install space-based weapons to ward off this threat that's not a threat. The only thing it's a threat to is the powers that be in the status quo. And he was very concerned about this. And, he said first the threat would be communism, then it would be third world crazy terrorists, then it would be asteroids, then the final threat would be the alien card. Where they would get us to wipe out these non-hostile aliens to justify and to keep these non-hostile aliens from coming and basically setting us free, essentially. That's what he said, but it's so misquoted and so much is left out of those statements that he made, but so much of what he predicted has come true, especially with the third world crazy and the terrorists and the asteroids and that's the thing. That's what he talked about. Is the first thing it would do is they would try to sell us on the installation of these space-based weapons to guard against asteroids and then, of course, what have we seen over the past 4 or 5 years? The UN panel on asteroids and near-Earth objects, they've started to do that. They've started to talk about creating a defense system against these type of space rocks and whatnot. And since Obama was inaugurated in his first term, the spending for space-based weapons reached an all-time high, and that's going to continue under Trump. Doesn't matter who's in office. All this stuff stays the same, and it's business as usual. These space-based weapons that they will first tell us are going to be used to ward off asteroids and space rocks, and then to ward off aliens will then be turned back towards Earth and used to enslave people. And they hinted about this. I think it was one of the most recent, I don't know if it was Civil War or maybe it was one that came out last year. One of the more recent Marvel movies, Civil War, Avengers, or one of those, or Captain America. Maybe it was the second Captain America. I can't remember. One of those had this in there, 100%. And they did exactly that, had these space-based weapons, and they turned them right back around on Earth. And again, this is ramping up. This is the next level of warfare. Next level of the psychological operation and the manipulation. It continues. It definitely doesn't end. KKK Imperial Wizard misses his own Donald Trump victory parade after being arrested for stabbing a fellow Klan member in the chest the night before. Wow. Well, that's just quality, isn't it? That's what's always kind of struck me as odd about these KKK guys and these white supremacist guys and these Aryan Nation guys and stuff. I don't know. I just, if it's true whites are the master race, and it's true that whites are, superior and whatnot, how come every one of these guys looks like, I mean, I don't even want to get into the colorful metaphors. Ain't none of these guys specimens. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if we're gonna have white supremacists and guys, believe white, I want to see a specimen. I mean, bring us out this guy that's like, the mane, the blue eyes, and the fucking. I mean, show us the big, Olympian. None of these guys that talk about, not a one of them. They look like the most backwoods, inbred, one eye, but cherry top, right? All right, let's go hang us a nigger, Bubba. We're gonna go down here hang us a nigger tonight, man. I mean, none of these. I mean, literally, they don't make the case very well for their beliefs. Let's just leave it at that. It just. You need to get better pitchmen. That's all I'm saying. Get some better pitchmen in there, guys. Appropriate some of the budget over towards better pitchmen for your cause. Because, I mean, the people you got out front, I'm just giving you my own personal suggestion here, my own personal advice. The guys you got out front in your organization I don't think, let's see, how can I put it lightly? I don't think they're putting your best foot forward. I don't think they're representing your brand properly. I just don't. Because anybody takes a look at these guys, you're like, that's the master race? These guys, Bubba and fucking Cletus fucking each other in the ass and wearing hoods. This is the fucking, okay. Seriously, y'all need some like PR help or something. But that's a Darwin Award winner of the week right there. KKK, I mean, that's just one of the best. That's right up there with Nazi lesbian hookers abducted by UFOs and forced into weight loss programs, which was from Weird Al, by the way. That's one of the best like news headlines ever. But KKK Imperial Wizard misses his own Donald Trump victory parade after being arrested for stabbing a fellow Klan member in the chest. Bubba, I got bad news for you. You ain't getting to go to your very own Donald Trump rally you've been waiting on. You've been waiting on it. It happened. He got elected and it's here. But guess what, Bubba? You ain't going down there now. You going to jail, son. You done stabbed him. You done San Cletus in the chest last night. Going to jail. Come on. Get in the goddamn car. And I just need some football and some crank and some fried chicken. I'll be ready to go. Look, I can only, I can only imitate those people because I know those people, and some of them are in my family, okay? So I'm not hating or making fun of anybody here. I'm speaking from experience. My family comes from fucking East Texas, where the whitest of the white trash come from, all right? So don't get it twisted here. I'm talking shit on my very own people. Let's be clear. My God. Absolute craziness. All right, well, we're going to leave it there for tonight, folks. We'll be back here with you here tomorrow for another edition of the show. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. My name is Josh Reeves. We'll see you next time. Take care.